Mermaids, yes or no?
Longer answer than you may think.
Okay, darn.
There have been some genetic creations that would be similar to that in Atlantean times that may have given rise to some of those legends. In terms of them existing physically as a species on your Earth, no, but they are part of the nature world that again is a slightly altered, shifted vibrational reality to yours that sometimes overlaps in your reality, and therefore sometimes people who are sensitive to it can sometimes perceive those kinds of beings, but they don't exist in your normal physical reality.
All right. Dragons?
Similar idea. Again, they are beings that are of a higher dimensional level that you can interact with, but they exist between the planes of dimensions. They are never presenting themselves in your physical reality as the dragon that you think they do. They look quite different when they come into your reality. But the idea is that you perceive them in the way that you do when they're in their own natural state in between the dimensions. But they are higher levels of wisdom.
Megalodon.
Well, that exists. It's a giant shark.
Does it exist right now?
Several do.
Yes!
In the very depths of your oceans.
Awesome.
And a few other things you haven't found yet.
Oh, cool. Way cool. How about a hollow earth?
No, not physically.
Okay.
Again, people that may have, without intending to, crossed through different dimensional vortices may find themselves in a reality that because of their understanding of physical reality, they think actually physically is inside the Earth, when in fact they're no longer on the Earth anywhere at all.
Really?
So they just make the assumption when they come back through that particular portal that they've actually physically been inside the Earth, and they haven't. They've been somewhere else.
So there is, in a sense, something special about the idea of Sasquatch being the original hominid form that evolved on your planet. Now, you already have heard us talk about how cats can see into other dimensions, dogs can see spirits, and so on and so forth. Well, because it's more connected to nature, the Sasquatch hominid already had these abilities and was able, because they are a hominid, to push them with thought processes into a different form of recognition, recognizing parallel realities more clearly, and learning over time how to identify with those parallel realities so strongly, or other dimensions so strongly, that they began to shift into them just by the focus that they concentrated on with regard to their relationship to those particular dimensions or parallel realities, which the animals don't need to do per se. Although there are some animals that can slip in out of other dimensions from time to time. Some insects have this ability, some mammals have this ability, though it's relatively rare because it's relatively unnecessary for them to do so. However, hominids, being a little bit different in the sense of being the foundation of Homo sapiens, had the ability to contemplate certain things and focus on certain other dimensional or parallel realities they were perceiving with their natural abilities. And so in focusing that way, gave themselves the ability to actually shift in directions that most animals don't need to.
About the crop circle phenomena, which I'm
Yes.
really very interested in, and
You're
I
seeing
love the beauty
slices of a
them.
much higher dimensional form. You're only seeing a slice, a two-dimensional slice of a higher dimensional form that is the product of the collective consciousness of your world, and it's engaged with the consciousness of other realities, including the consciousness of nature itself. Wow. You're giving yourself messages and learning how to read them from a higher perspective. It's like having a communication dialogue literally with the collective higher consciousness of the entire planet.
Wow.
You're talking to Gaia. The Earth is expressed like anything in a number of dimensions. In some dimensions, you would perceive the planet as two-dimensional, flat in your language, as you say. But that's a perception of another dimensional expression of the Earth. The Earth in your dimension isn't flat. It's a sphere because that's how it's expressed in your dimensions, 3 of space and 1 of time. And there are higher dimensional versions of the Earth as well. But when people start expanding and exploring their consciousness in new ways, sometimes they can take some things a little too literally in the same dimension when what they're perceiving is aspects of things in other dimensions, because now their senses can stretch far enough to see that. But they sometimes misunderstand and assume that what they're perceiving in another dimension is actually the truth of this dimension, and it's not.
Did the world face a catastrophic event in the 1980s that erased history that caused the Mandela Effect? And if not, what is the Mandela Effect?
Now, sometimes it's just an issue of a person's memory being a little bit out of alignment. However, there is a true Mandela Effect, and the Mandela Effect is that every single moment that you redefine yourself in the present, you're actually changing the past. But as you expand your consciousness, sometimes you can now contain the memory of more than one past. And therefore, some people might say, no, history went this way, and they can be true about that. And another person can say, no, I completely remember it differently, and they can be true about that. So it's possible now, as you expand your consciousness, to remember more than one history, because you're changing your past every single time you change your present. But when you do that, for the most part, the idea of the past you now know was always your past has to present itself as if it was always your past for it to make sense linearly in your physical reality terms. But 5 minutes ago, you may not have had the same past at all. But whatever the new past is will make itself seem like that's always been the way the past was in order for you to live a life that makes sense in the present. But you're changing your past every moment that you change the present.
I always felt that there was a crystal skull buried under the sea.
You are talking about the master skull, the zero skull.
Yes, I am.
For that is the central seat of ancient Atlantis, is in the Bahamian Islands, in parts of Florida, in parts of what you now call Cuba and Puerto Rico. The empire stretched far and wide from there, but that was the central seat in that area. When the ocean level was much lower, you can see the larger landmass that was there before the oceans rose and inundated the central system of the Atlantean Islands. Why do you think there is a Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah, that's what I felt. That must be the powerhouse for that, is that the powerhouse?
The zero skull.
Zero skull.
Creates in the natural portal that exists in that area massive interdimensional fluctuations. It's not the powerhouse. The portal is natural, but the zero skull affects it in a very specific way that allows it to keep shifting interdimensionally in unpredictable ways at this point, because it is no longer focused. It's like, well, I'll just use this particular euphemism that most of you will understand. It's sort of like somebody left the stove on. But no one has access to turn it off anymore or to focus it properly. So it's still running, so to speak, by interacting with the portal, but in an uncontrolled manner.
Specifically in the United States, the western area.
Mount Shasta is a chakra point. Sedona is a vortex. The Bermuda Triangle is a vortex.
Is there any significance between Los Angeles and Las Vegas being these two major cities?
Of course there is a difference.
I mean, and energy-wise, is there any activity underneath the city?
You can see the difference.
Right.
Now, the idea, as we illustrated yesterday of your time, is that between Sedona and Shasta, there's a direct connecting line of energy. And we demonstrated that the area you call Area 51 is smack, as you say, on that line. You follow?
Right.
This is primarily because they understand that ships navigate better on that line of energy. And so it is also functioning as a doorway for ships to come through, and for the ships that they are retrofitting and retro-engineering to operate in that wavelength, in that frequency. It gives them a little bit of a push, shall we say. Now, your city of Las Vegas is slightly off that line.
Right.
The idea, therefore, you will find, is that it draws and taps into that energy to some degree, but kind of at a skewed angle.
Right.
Is that not a perfect description of Las Vegas?
Hence Sin City.
However you wish to interpret that.
Right.
This is the energy relationship. Los Angeles, and again, the idea being that it is no accident what things are called, is an opportunity for it to literally become a city of the angels vibrationally. But that is up to you.
Right.
The vortex is there that allows for that potential, but it is up to all of you to align with it and demonstrate that vibrational state.
The Nazca lines
Yes.
in Peru,
Yes.
who made those?
What you would call the indigenous beings, with some ancient understandings of technology. Some of it will be that which comes from off-world, but which became incorporated into the indigenous societies that existed at the time, sufficiently enough that they could, in that sense, call it their own, plus an understanding that they had gleaned with their own intuitive powers of how to amplify the ability to do those things simply by tapping into the infinite.
What purpose did the designs
A
serve?
number of purposes. They did, to some degree, function as markers, but the idea is that they were also used as an understanding of laying out geometric proportions that symbolized and represented a concept that you don't really have at this point in your world, in almost any culture. And it would be something like the idea of now what is going on with the crop circles, but in a very rudimentary form, in that they contain an implication of the mathematical information and ratios that underlie the template of physical reality. At the same time, they were also used ritualistically, in the understanding of being able to describe the formations, certain of the formations, from high above, through the idea of the accomplishment of what you call astral projection, in that as you leave your body, so to speak, and are then capable of describing what you see below, which can only be seen from the air, then it would be known by the teacher that you'd actually accomplished the astral projection, because there'd be no other way you could describe it. It was also used as the idea of the exemplification of ley lines on your planet, but from a very different kind of context, and also an exemplification of connections to other dimensional realms. In other words, many of those lines literally point to vortex spots that are literally doorways to other realms. It is also a map, a dimensional, an interdimensional map that leads directly to vortex spots.
What about the pyramids and the face on Mars? Are there any other artifacts on Mars?
Well, there is the pyramid that we talked about that we call the artifact that only some people on your planet know of, and most of you know nothing about and have not yet seen photographs of.
Okay, because the face on Mars we've seen photographs of. Is
yes,
that real?
and we're not going to go into that at the moment.
Okay, but the main thing...
the idea of the pyramidal artifact we're talking about is not something that most of your population is aware of yet.
Oh, cool. Well,
there is another pyramid that has yet to be found by the majority of your population, although it has been seen by a few members of your population in some of the photographs that were taken by one of your orbiting satellites around Mars. But this has not been revealed yet to the public.
Moon may be hollow?
It is not hollow. There are underground bases there. It has some large cavern areas in it. It's not completely hollow, but there are artificially constructed engineering devices within it.
Okay, because also it doesn't rotate like other moons do, so...
Well, it's tidally locked to your planet.
Gotcha.
It does rotate. It's just that its rotation is exactly the same as its orbit.
Okay. So is there anyone living there now?
Well, there are bases that are inhabited by different extraterrestrial species, now and then, yes.
Can you say which ones?
We have a few bases on your moon. The Yael have a few bases on your moon.
Okay.
Some ancient bases from the Anunnaki still exist there that are used by different beings coming and going now and then.
Okay. Was it brought here? Is it like a ship?
No.
Okay.
It is a natural object that was created through the idea of a collision of your planet with another, and it broke off. But it has been put into position artificially, and it has been artificially engineered within to maintain certain gravitational and vibrational balances for your planet to allow you to evolve in a certain window of timing.
You talk about the moon landing that we experienced and what we were shown in the film, and if that was real, or if there was another moon landing, or if we've actually ever been there?
You absolutely have been there. Now, some things have been edited out, so let's just say you didn't see the whole truth, but you have been there. And any one of you can actually verify that quite easily with a powerful enough telescope. You can see the things you left on the moon, you know. You understand?
I do. Can we see things that other people left on the moon? Or other beings left on the moon?
Well, you have. Again, sometimes that's edited out of your collective information base, but many of you are already aware that people have photographed remnants of extraterrestrial bases and other things that have been placed on the moon for a variety of reasons from different civilizations. So some of you are aware that there are artifacts there.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the pyramids. So
which ones?
Since there are so many pyramids in Egypt and in Asia, is there also an era of when those were built and for a certain like global meaning when they were built?
The oldest ones, yes. Approximately 10,500 BC, as you call it. And they had great understanding of what they were doing. Then the knowledge was lost over time, and a lot of the later pyramids do not function in the same way that the earlier ones did. The Great Pyramid of Giza served many different kinds of functions when it was operational, in its pristine state, not the least of which was that initiate priests, when brought into the understandings of the mysteries of creation, would be led into the king's chamber and would lie down in the stone coffer, and they would be taught to generate the gamma state in a meditation. And the stone coffer and the king's chamber was designed to amplify and magnify that gamma state to the point where it reverberated and amplified and then suddenly popped them out of their bodies. So that in astral form they could go to higher realms, gain knowledge, bring it back, and share that knowledge with society, although, of course, the priesthood usually kept those things to themselves as to how they achieved that knowledge. They would just simply dole it out as they needed to.
The pyramids, how did they move the stones? I've heard some different
The earliest
theories.
ones were moved through forms of levitation. And
Okay.
this is why we talk about the idea of the stone speakers, because when you understand the vibrations, the true vibrations of the stone, and you speak to them that way, whether with your own voices in harmony or through technological devices that can replicate those harmonies in a certain way, you can actually cancel the effect of gravity on the stone.
Something that really interests me is the excavation of the Sphinx.
Yes.
They say that it's about 8,000 years old, and
It's older than that.
yeah, and that's what I really was interested in knowing. What is it?
10,500.
Nice. So, what is in it?
Under it,
Yes.
mysteries.
Can't wait for that.
You have to.
I know. I know.
Imagine or visualize or recall a time when you may have seen a statue of Anubis. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not.
The jackal-headed god of the underworld, so to speak, Anubis. A jackal like a dog, sitting like the Sphinx, down, because that is originally what the Sphinx was, Anubis.
Thank you.
As Anubis is depicted most often in ancient Egyptian society, the Anubis jackal is sitting on a box. So is the Sphinx. Sitting on an underground box, an underground chamber of mysteries and secrets. Some of these have actually already been discovered and hidden from the public, but most have not, for it is not yet quite time for some of its mysteries to be revealed. But there are still several there in the underground box, in secret chambers that have yet to be opened and will not be opened until a deeper understanding is had of frequency, of resonance, of ratio and proportion. And when the right song is sung and the right vibration resounds, the box will reveal its secrets one after the other. This may occur anytime between now and the year you call 2050. It depends upon exactly the rate of acceleration in your society, the rate of ascension, what happens with respect to contact between your world and other civilizations in the contact window between 2025 and 2033. For even contact will not necessarily be the right time for the revelation of some of the mysteries in the box under the Sphinx. But it will come.
What was the Ark of the Covenant, and who gave Moses the 10 Commandments, if they actually occurred?
The Ark is a device that was mostly a communication device, but also could be used to channel energy in a variety of ways for a variety of purposes. It was a communication device between those humans and an extraterrestrial society. The 10 Commandments were not originally 10 commandments. They were guidelines that explained the idea of the relationship between you and creation. I am the Lord your God, thou shalt not have false gods before me, was originally delivered as the idea of, I am all that is. Anything you may think is a false god isn't, because I am everything and cannot be false. Quite a difference. You understand?
Yes.
So that's the idea that those guidelines were delivered, both through the idea of the auspices of telepathic instruction, but also the device was delivered from an extraterrestrial society that people on your planet referred to as angels of God, but they basically were an extraterrestrial society.
So when Moses went up and got the tablets and all of that?
A ship landed on top of the mountain and delivered what needed to be delivered.
Thank you.
But again, there was much misinterpretation, because it's coming from a very high dimensional level and being translated or stepped down into physical reality. And in that step down process, there can be automatic distortion and misrepresentation of concepts that come from higher levels if the filters for fear-based beliefs are, shall we say, getting in the way. You are teleporting all the time from moment to moment to moment to moment, but you are doing it in a sense, frame by frame by frame by frame, instead of understanding that you can actually, well, to use a colloquial phrase, you can actually skip some of the frames.
How do you skip them?
By understanding what you're doing to begin with. You have to understand the mechanism before you can use the mechanism in a different way. So a deeper understanding of the fact that you're already doing that will allow you more opportunity to see how you can skip some of the frames, so to speak. You're not really skipping frames, but that's the way it will feel. The idea is to live in the present, not be in a hurry to get somewhere else or be something you're not at the moment, and just act on your passion to the best you're able with no insistence on what the outcome should look like, because that's what keeps raising your vibration. And raising your vibration is what allows you to understand and have the, what? Epiphany of how to see the structure of what we're talking about and see more clearly what it is you're already doing and see how to use what you're already doing in a different way, because when you can see the structure more clearly through the epiphany vibration, then you can understand that space and time are your side effects, they're your illusions, and they become more flexible and more malleable. And then you have an insight as to how you can use them in a different way to make it appear as if you are teleporting farther and farther distances. The thing you have to understand is that distance is an illusion. It doesn't really exist. Everything is here and now. So you have to really wrap your mind around that concept deeply enough so that it's ingrained within you that you're not actually going anywhere. In a sense, you're just recreating a different location here.
Is it possible?
Anything is possible. What you're asking is it probable?
Okay, thank you. Is it probable to fly in this life with your physical body like Superman or Peter Pan?
Yes, it is probable. But what degree of probability depends upon the person's belief systems and the reason why they might choose such a thing and the need for it to happen in their reality.
Say you just wanted to fly just
Idle
for the fun of it.
curiosity doesn't usually do it.
Would your belief system have to be powerful enough to overcome gravity?
It's not about power, it's about clarity. There has to be a clear reason in how it serves you to do so, and how it may serve others for you to do so as well. There has to be a choice made within the idea of the exploration of a theme that is to the benefit of you and all concerned as to that happening. Now, that's becoming more and more probable in your reality as you get a better handle on the idea of what consciousness is and what beliefs are all about and how they manifest your physical reality experience, and the fact that it takes place within your consciousness and not really outside. So the idea really is a vibratory one, a resonance one, a frequency one. In the sense of how it happens in our reality, one of the ways we began to realize that such a thing was highly probable was when we first recognized that what you call location is actually a property of the object itself, not a place in which an object resides. So when you know that location is a property of the object and you learn to redefine the vibrational variable in the equation, the energy equation of the object, then if the location happens to be 50 feet off the ground and you impose that vibratory resonance or change that vibratory resonance within the location variable in the equation of the object, then the object must by definition start to exist 50 feet off the ground because that's its new locational variable. So it's all about frequency, it's all about resonance, it's all about knowing what your energy signature is and how your beliefs can align themselves to generate the appropriate energy signature to manifest that particular kind of an experience.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of questions from our viewers.
All right.
Okay, the first one. Is there a way to unite the unconscious and the subconscious minds with the conscious mind so that we can be consciously aware of all three? And would there be an advantage to our physical experience that way?
As long as you are physical, you will not completely dissolve all three, but you can allow them to work more efficiently together and mirror the physical version of a higher mind. But while you are physical, all three are somewhat necessary so that you can experience timing and processing of whatever information your conscious mind truly needs at any given moment. So there will always be some slight holdback, some slight process of funneling the information that's necessary at any given moment through. But yes, you can allow, by accelerating yourself, by raising your frequency, the barriers to become less solid so that they can work together, all three divisions can work together much more efficiently, much more fluidly.
Okay. And this person says, I'm interested in why we are specifically among all the other options for who or what we could be as a unique expression. So I guess why we are who we are. How is it possible for us to have preferences if we all come from unconditional love?
Because it is unconditional by the very definition of the word, you can be whatever you choose to be. Therefore, you choose whatever theme of exploration at any given moment your consciousness believes will allow it to experience what it needs for its own growth, whatever it is interested in exploring in that sense. So you have the freedom to choose whatever you wish.
Do we have the option of choosing to come to Earth to do negative things?
You do have that option, but again, remember that when you say negative, a lot of times you will choose negative mechanisms to do positive things. For example, the idea that you are limiting your consciousness in order to have a physical experience is a positive utilization of a negative mechanism because you are imposing a limitation for various positive reasons, for experiential reasons, on your broader consciousness. So yes, in the way that you meant the question, it is possible that you may see that someone doing something that would be considered to be negative could inspire others to act positively and perhaps change things in a more positive direction by having something negative to push against.
Is there an optimal way to meditate? And is there like a best length? And is 10 minutes just as effective as 1 hour? Or?
Not necessarily. It takes about 15 minutes for the neurological pathways of your brain to rewire themselves effectively in a lasting way. So the idea of whatever form of meditation you are attracted to would be the best thing for you, the best permission slip. And we would say optimally, allow yourself at least 15 minutes. You can go for longer. You can go for an hour. Again, it depends upon how you decide to adjust it that works best for you. But at the very minimum, 15 minutes is usually required for most physical individuals to allow for the appropriate amount of rewiring of the brain to be effective in terms of making the changes that you typically seek to make.
Okay, thank you. Following up from the guilt and responsibility transmission, is guilt always an indication that there is an energy alignment necessary, or can that mechanism get out of whack a bit? Is it possible for us to have a habit of unnecessarily being guilty when we feel guilty about things that we don't even need to really be adjusted about? And if so, how can we know the difference and clean up the confusion and the energy alignment mechanism can work as intended?
The sensation you call guilt, that you recognize as guilt, is always an indication that there is a misalignment within you or a negative belief at work. Otherwise, it's just awareness and recognition of something. It doesn't necessarily have an experience of guilt attached to it if you're just aware of something from a neutral position. The idea of being guilty when you know you have no need to be guilty in that sense is one of the results of actually giving in to the negative definition, the negative belief system, because again, it keeps attempting to perpetuate itself and thus continues to perpetuate the guilty feeling even when you intellectually know there's no reason for you to experience guilt. So that is simply a residual side effect of, or an echo, if you will, of having given in to the idea of the negative and fear-based belief that creates the initial guilt feeling to begin with. The idea, again, is to recognize that it comes from a fear-based belief, to explore and investigate yourself with honesty about what that belief could be, and truly get to the core understanding of what the fear-based belief is telling you as a story, to allow yourself to really see the details in that story and recognize that they are generally nonsensical when you get to the heart of the matter. That is how you can dissolve any reason to keep perpetuating the idea of guilt and allow yourself to let that go.
So as an example, survivor guilt, is there a way to transmute that? Or is that happening at such a deep level? And it seems a little different than normal.
It is not. It is not different because it still is the result of harboring a negative belief that you could have done something, and in some senses it robs other individuals who may have passed on of their choices. So to be guilty about the fact that you are still alive while someone else may have died is, again, nonsensical because you are not allowing yourself or allowing them to have made their choices from a higher level. You're not trusting the timing of what's going on. Now, this doesn't mean that the idea of what causes the death cannot be mitigated, cannot be changed in the future for other people. But the idea of whatever it is that does happen, even if it results in someone else's death, must simply be recognized as the result of belief systems or themes or choices that they have made, even unconsciously. And to be guilty about being someone who remains alive in some sense dishonors the choices that they made instead of utilizing those to make differences in your own life and in your own understanding about your connection to those who have passed on into spirit. So survivor guilt, again, is simply a residual recognition of the fact that you've been holding on to fear-based beliefs and negative beliefs about your own worthiness to be alive, about the choices you are making. And it can be used in a positive way to correct anything that might have been a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation, or a miscalculation in your own life. But the idea of holding on to the guilt does not allow you to move forward, nor does it allow you to develop a recognizable relationship with those who have passed on in a way that can serve you and in a way that honors them for their choices.
You talk sometimes about how there are consequences to our choices and actions. Yeah. How can we hear the word consequences so that we don't perceive it in a negative or punitive way? Sometimes I fear consequences catching up with me from past mistakes, even though I've already healed, learned from them, and brought myself back into alignment. How can I release that fear and work with this teaching in a more positive way?
There's an oxymoron in the question you have asked, because if you have actually healed yourself and brought yourself back into alignment, there would not be the definition of consequences in a punitive manner. So when you say that you are still experiencing a punitive definition of a simple neutral consequence of an action taken, then you're not in alignment. You have not brought yourself back into alignment. There is still a fear-based belief at the heart of your experience. But look at it this way. A consequence is simply the neutral result of an action taken. Let us say, for example, you simply drop a ceramic cup. The consequence of dropping it may be that it actually shatters on the floor. Is the shattering on the floor a punishment? No. It is just the neutral consequences of having dropped the cup in a gravitational field. The fact that you would say, oh, I am being punished now because the cup shattered, is simply the result of a nonsensical negative belief system. So by recognizing the nonsense in the idea of defining something that is simply the neutral result of an action taken, but keeping upon it the idea of self-judgment, then you can more easily separate the concept of punitive definitions from a neutral consequence.
Can you tell us the best way to follow the higher mind? How can we trust and understand its messages? And is it possible to follow the messages of the higher mind without first working with the shadows of the subconscious mind?
Again, this is a slight misunderstanding of the formula that we have shared with all of you. Following your passion is what allows you to determine what to let go of so that you can more readily follow the higher mind's guidance, which comes to you through passion. Remember, the toolkit that is contained when you act on your passion contains the reflective mirror that brings to your attention the idea of any belief within you that is out of alignment with your true vibration. So by acting on your passion and allowing the ideas to come up that may be out of alignment and working with it to let it go, you actually give yourself more ability to have more discernment and deal with these ideas of negative belief systems more easily in the future. So it is the very act of following your passion that brings these things to your attention, because bringing these things to your attention is part of your passion.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Does listening to subliminal messages or a recording of affirmations while you sleep in order to tap into your subconscious mind have any benefit to us in creating the experiences we prefer? Can it expedite us raising our vibration to match the experiences we prefer to have, as having good health or abundance or money? Or is it just another permission slip that will work for some and not for others? Does the subconscious mind need a permission slip?
Yes, it is a permission slip, because everything in physical reality is a permission slip. Will it work for some and not for others? Yes. Is it effective for some? Yes, because it is a permission slip that they've gravitated to, been attracted to, and it is the attraction that usually indicates it will work for the person who is attracted to use that particular permission slip. So in that sense, it is a simple answer of knowing that it is something you are attracted to, that at least will temporarily work for you while you are attracted to it, and can be effective for those that align with it in terms of their belief system. But it's up to you to recognize also that it may change for you. So go with the flow. Whatever it is you're attracted to as a permission slip, by all means use it for the length of time you are attracted to it. When you're no longer attracted to use it, you'll find that something else will work for you. That's part of your evolutionary growth.
Can you mention some of the ways that our higher mind communicates with us?
It communicates primarily through, again, the sensation of objects or situations and circumstances that contain more excitement and passion or attractiveness or curiosity than any other. And it amplifies these things and delivers them quite often through the auspices of the fact that everything is connected, meaning synchronicity.
Right, so synchronistic symbols would also be communications from the higher mind?
Yes.
Belief, does that mean that we should ask ourselves why we have it and try to eliminate that belief by waiting for an answer that doesn't make any sense to us? Or is there other...
Well, you're not waiting. It's an active process of self-investigation to allow yourself to render the belief nonsensical. It doesn't just happen on its own, because if you don't do anything about it, if you don't investigate it, if you don't look deeply within yourself with honesty and curiosity and a willingness to change, then the negative belief will simply keep perpetuating itself. So it's not about waiting for it to make no sense. It's about actively seeking ways and understanding ways in which it simply no longer makes sense to you. One way is to look around in your reality, on your planet, and see if there's someone doing something similar in their passion as to what you would find also passionate about, exciting about doing, and recognize what it is that's different between you that allows them to do it, but not you. It is in that difference you will find the difference in your definitions, and then perhaps it will stand out more clearly why the definition for you is nonsensical, because if they can do it, why can't you?
So are the beliefs in the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, these negative beliefs?
They're in the conscious mind, sometimes in the subconscious mind or unconscious mind, but they actually originate within the conscious mind, because the idea of those negative beliefs is not natural to your greater being. It's things that are learned and ingrained within you in the conscious world, in the conscious reality. Again, either by your circumstances and situations, your parents, your friends, your schooling, your society. These are all introduced into the conscious mind. Aspects of these then beliefs, negative beliefs, filter into your subconscious and unconscious mind when you are given perhaps contradictory information that you don't know how to process, don't know how to handle. So you store them in the subconscious and unconscious mind to be released later when you might gain enough information and knowledge and experience to be able to understand them at that point, bring them back into the conscious mind to determine for yourself at that point what it is that's nonsensical and irrelevant for you and what it is you determine you will keep believing in. So again, the subconscious and unconscious mind are used as different types of reservoirs to hold on to things you can't immediately process. But all of these negative beliefs are, in a sense, received by the conscious mind. Now, the only exception to this, and it's not really an exception, but just an augmentation, would be that if you have decided as a spirit to come into the reality with a certain theme you will explore, then you might allow the conscious mind to be, shall we say, more open to receiving some of these negative and fear-based beliefs that you will then use in your process to overcome and, shall we say, transform so that you can fulfill the theme that you chose to explore. But the fear-based beliefs are still received by the conscious mind, even though you make, shall we say, set up a likelihood of accepting them from a higher level to begin with as a representation of a theme that you will choose to explore.
Can you comment on the idea of compartmentalization and how that can shield one from the consequences of negative beliefs?
Compartmentalization, because you operate it in a physical reality that has time and space and can have time lags and so on and so forth, can be used as a certain vibrational pattern to, in a sense, act as a filtering system so that you can achieve certain things on one level while holding off on certain kinds of consequences on another level. In other words, you're storing everything for later dissemination, for later analyzation, for later observation. And this is why when you pass into spirit, you cannot avoid the idea of life review, where you experience the consequences of every action that you took. Because now in that state of being, non-physically, you have dissolved all of the barriers. There is no more conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. It's all right there in one awareness. And thus, at that point, if not at any point earlier, you will experience every single idea, every single consequence, every single action, every single emotion, everything you may have put into the reservoir for later analysis will come flooding in during the life review if you do not deal with them in the physical reality at some point.
Can you say a little more about how you actually experience life review? I think one questioner was concerned about going through it, that it seems fearful or like
You
a
will not
terrible
experience
experience.
it in a fearful way. You will understand through a form of spiritual empathy what it is that any other person that may have been affected by a choice you made would have felt, would have experienced. But I know this sounds like a little bit of a contradiction or an oxymoron, but you experience all these things from a neutral position. You experience them fully as if it's happening to you, but since there is absolutely no judgment on it from the spiritual perspective, you are not experiencing any of the things you would heap upon yourself in physical reality, such as judgment for having done it. And therefore, while you can experience it in its fullest form, you do not actually experience the judgment that would amplify it in a negative way. Therefore, there is nothing to fear. It is simply absorbed as information and knowledge and experience, and used in a positive way to determine what you will do next and how you will grow from those things, how you will learn from those things. I know this may not be absolutely clear to you, since most of you are absolutely not used to experiencing any lack of judgment at all on the things you do, on the negative ideas, on the negative fear-based beliefs. But by eliminating the idea of self-judgment, you simply can experience a full emotional experience of what someone else may have experienced in physical reality, but without the judgment, it is not experienced in any way, shape, or form that is fear-inducing.
So back to the idea of compartmentalization, an individual that's capable of compartmentalizing and then doing harm to thousands of people through negative acts and worldwide consequences for their behavior.
Yes.
When they go on this planet, you can experience those kinds of things, and yet when you go through life review, the idea of the karma or the punishment,
Not karma. It's not karma.
none of that is going to happen, right?
You will experience the consequence of everything you did, and you will experience it from the points of view of every single person that was engaged or involved or affected in some way, shape, or form. You will experience it all as if it's happening to you, each and every individual, and not even immediately, but even those that have repercussions and ripples that extend sometimes for days, months, weeks, years, and centuries. You'll experience every single consequence and ripple effect that came as a result of the choices that you made. So it's not that you escape it, but you don't experience it as a punishment. You experience it as an experience.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. And regarding working with the subconscious, hypnosis has been a method used to explore it and assist medically. Is it beneficial, and can we improve our method and use, and how?
Again, like previous questions, it can be beneficial for those individuals that are attracted to use that particular permission slip. It can be very effective for many of you because it does help the majority of people in the collective idea of the themes you are exploring to unlock from any particular reality concept that you may be holding on to and truly be capable of letting it go. So it can be an effective permission slip because it taps into the collective unconscious of your reality and the themes that the collective may have agreed to explore, and lets you, in many cases, be relatively fluid with them or free of them. So yes, but it's still nonetheless a permission slip. And again, it can be more effective the more you understand how it can be a skeleton key of sorts to unlock every different kind of lock that may be experienced in your life. But again, it's up to the individual to decide whether or not that's something that they will gravitate to, that they are attracted to. Remember that you're hypnotizing yourself all the time anyway to believe certain things that aren't necessarily real, at least temporarily so. So all of you, in that sense, in order to have a physical reality, are under the influence of different types of hypnosis.
Okay, and is the subconscious mind like a doorway to the higher consciousness? Is the subconscious part of the mind or the higher self?
It's part of the mind, but it is the part, again, that acts as a go-between between the physical conscious mind and the unconscious mind to determine exactly what portions of information that reside in the unconscious mind and the higher self the physical mind is ready to process. So it acts as a kind of a gatekeeper, the subconscious mind, to let through whatever the conscious mind feels it is ready to deal with in terms of facing different belief systems and processing them and letting the negative ones go. So, of course, everything is a reflection of what the higher mind chose to experience, but it is a specific part that acts as a gatekeeper for what the conscious mind is ready to deal with.
Yes. So a couple months ago, I went to sleep and woke up like different. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's
I
like
know how to explain it. You are always different. It's just that you are now more aware of the differences that you always are.
Okay, that makes more sense because I'm like things like that used to be interesting is no longer. Like
Yes.
now it's like okay, so like
Yes.
so what? Like
Remember that you are shifting billions of times a second. It's just that most of you are not really aware of that because it happens so smoothly. But when you start expanding your consciousness, you start becoming aware that you are actually literally a different person every moment. So when you become more aware of that, you will start to experience feeling very different than you used to feel because you're becoming aware of the fact that you are always literally a different person moment to moment to moment. It's part of the expansion of your consciousness, the expansion of your bandwidth, and your ability to perceive what's going on in terms of how you actually create your physical reality experience.
gotcha. And also, like my friends, like my best friend, you used to talk all the time.
Yes.
Now it's like all the stuff she talking about. I'm like, I am not interested in those anymore,
Yes, of course, I understand. You may not right now be vibrationally compatible on those things. It may not be important for you to absorb those. She may change too eventually or not, but it doesn't really matter. You will gravitate to what you are vibrationally attuned to that helps move you forward.
Got it. All right. My next question is last month, I was on the phone talking to my husband and I had an episode for a stroke. And I felt it and it lasted a second, but it felt like it wasn't, it's me, but it's not me. That makes
Yes.
sense?
Yes.
And when I went to the hospital, they didn't find anything wrong, but I know I didn't imagine it. I felt all the whole experience.
Yes, well, this is similar to what you're already talking about in terms of understanding that when more of your soul is coming through you, it completely changes your personality expression to match the frequency, the more energy that you are expressing of your true soul vibration. So it will feel like a sort of earthquake shift in your neurological net, in your brain, in your neurology. It will feel like you have truly had a quake within your system.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Wow. That's okay. So my next question is, I have a son, an 11-year-old son.
Yes.
I want to know how I can help him. I understand that they choose their their parents to come here
Yes.
to experience.
Yes.
But what can I do on my end?
All parents and teachers can have the creativity and imagination to create scenarios for their children that allow them to understand the consequences of their choices before they make those choices in outer society, so that they can make those choices in a safe place and understand their consequences of those choices, because everyone is connected. You can teach them that they are not isolated, they are connected to everyone, and it's important what choices they make, for they can always understand how to make choices that allow them to experience self-empowerment without having to hurt themselves or anyone else in order to get what they need in life. Teach them the formula that we share with all of you, for that's how you create your reality. Allow them to understand how powerful they are as a soul. They will then understand how to grow up into balanced and mature adults who can make positive and creative choices that benefit all and be of service to humanity, knowing that if they are of service to humanity, then the whole will serve them as well.
Got it. And that answered my next question, because he was so excited that I was going to talk to you. He's like, to ask you how to be his true self. And I was like, I think you
Follow
just
the
answered it.
formula. Follow the formula. And also, again, if there is anything that they actually really, truly need to know to thrive in physical reality, find a way with your creative imagination to teach them the lesson according to what excites them, instead of trying to diminish their excitement into the lesson. Adapt the lesson in the form that excites them. Let them learn that they are excited to learn.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
All right. Have a good one. Love you.
Our unconditional love to you as well.
Bye.
Goodbye.
So my question is, like, I have a hard time to accept the now, and I know it should be that I'm in the perfect moment at the right time, but I have a hard time managing raising two young kids in a Western society with limited sources, because we do homeschooling and we don't believe in the system here anymore, and we want to be more free, and that's my goal, to get out of the system and move somewhere abroad. But my wish to be there now is so big that I cannot accept the now, and I'm burned out because of, I don't know, it's just too much here. So I don't know how to accept the now when my future, where I want to be, is so strong. Yeah, so my question is, how can I do that?
The idea is that if your now is telling you that you need to be somewhere else, then you need to take the actions that will bring you there to the best you can. That may be what your now is telling you. Accepting the now for what it is can also be the kind of now that encourages you to take the actions to change what you're experiencing in your now that you would more likely prefer. So use the now to be inspired to take whatever actions you can to bring about what you prefer without insistence or assumption. Just let synchronicity show you where you need to wind up. That's how to use what's going on now to propel you forward into experiencing a different kind of now. I'm not saying you have to accept all the things that are in the now. You obviously have your preferences and what's vibrationally compatible and not compatible with you. That's not what accepting the now means. Accepting the now means you understand that the circumstances that exist now can be utilized, if you utilize them creatively, in a way to propel you forward. It's just accepting that where you are now is what inspires you to be more of who it is you prefer to be. That's all it takes. So take whatever actions are necessary, whatever you are capable of acting on, that will allow you to move forward. Use your inspiration and imagination. There may be many other ways, many other paths than you think are possible. So open up in the now to the idea of receiving inspiration and information and opportunities synchronistically that can allow you to take the actions necessary to move you in the direction of what it is you say would be a more preferable existence for you in your new now.
Hello, how are you, my friend?
Perfect, and you?
I'm good, I'm great. I'm
All
really
right.
happy to engage with you. Bashar, my question is, I often and have for a long time been going and meditating to connect with you guys out into nature. Recently, there's been a lot more contact with, I'll call it contact, with these golden orbs of light that sort of flash bulb to kind of greet me, and then they've actually kind of come down, kind of to look at me or inspect me. What is going on with this?
You are developing and practicing an ability to stretch your senses out to other dimensions and other realms. These are members of your soul team, your soul family, helping you practice this, getting used to their vibrations and energies so that you can raise your vibration in a way that will put you in more direct contact with other frequencies beyond your soul family. So they are helping you. Some of it involved with elementals. Some of it is connected to extra dimensionals and extraterrestrials, but the majority of what you're experiencing is your soul family and your soul team and angelic beings all helping you practice getting used to perceiving those higher frequency energies.
Oh, that's wonderful, because actually I reach out to them also. So that is wonderful. Now on, with respects to the Interstellar Alliance, I consider myself as a member of the Interstellar Alliance because I act on the formula, acting on my highest excitement as often as I can in the moment. And that being the case in this moment, this is me acting on the formula in the moment. Is it possible? Recently, I will go to Joshua Tree to connect with you guys. Can you give some of us that are in the group some flyby sightings, maybe to familiarize us with a little more of your energy in certain places of either your choosing or our choosing?
Possibly. We cannot say for certain yet. Just go and do it in the area and see what happens. It is not fully determined yet, but possibly.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I love you all. Love and light to all beings everywhere.
Our unconditional love to you as well. Thank you. Aveo.
Okay, thank you. Aveo.
Good day to you, Bashar. Thank you so much for what you do. I'm using an app to induce a brainwave frequency in the channeling gamma state, and I'd like to do that sort of all the time because I'd like to achieve that state. However, I'm curious if it's a crutch, permission slip, right? Because I assume that you use technology like your ship, right? And that's not a permission slip. So can you please help me determine whether or not I'm using it as a crutch? Am I doing damage by maintaining a specific level when perhaps I would be rising above it if I didn't have this one specific frequency? It's 45, by the way. So anyway, any advice you could give me on that would help. Thank you.
Since you are concerned that you might be using it as a crutch, then I would pay attention to your behavior, because the idea is that you're using that to train yourself to do it without the app. So the idea is that you also will be fluctuating in and out of that vibration so that you can come into a vibration where you can apply what you're learning by being in the channeling state, but you may have to be in a different vibration in order to apply it. Until such time as you allow yourself to operate on a frequency where it is automatic that you will remain in that high state. So you can use the app as a training mechanism to allow you to become more comfortable and familiar with remaining in that state on your own without the app. If you constantly feel that you cannot do that without the app, then yes, it can become a crutch. And it won't allow you to necessarily go into any other state that you need to go into to apply what you've learned in that state into your physical reality, because you cannot always maintain that state when applying lessons in your physical reality necessarily. Eventually, you will have different lessons that will be more representative of staying in that state. But for the lessons that you may need to learn now, you may have to leave that state in order to apply them in your physical reality and go through a process that will give you the information and experience that you need that will ultimately, paradoxically, bring you back to the gamma state. But don't insist on staying there until it is something that you can do naturally and come from that state all the time in a natural way without needing any kind of technological assistance. Our ships, yes, are not exactly permission slips. They are, to coin a phrase, permission ships. They are representative of manifestation of our own higher mind, to which we are inexorably linked and therefore telepathically in touch with all the time. But that's our reality. It's where we've evolved to. Humanity is not there yet, but you are practicing the things that can bring you there at some point. So again, in your recognition that it could become a crutch, you are being aware of the possibility that you may not necessarily always use it in a positive way. So allow yourself to go with the flow that synchronicity will bring about to show you when it is appropriate to use it, and when you can allow yourself to receive the training that the app gives you to learn how to become that state on its own in a natural way, which again, in a sense, is why we delivered the formula to you. If you want to look at the formula as a kind of app, you can. But it's an app that allows you to function in a more natural way and a more organic way, in a more synchronistic and fluid way than the idea of the apps that you might be creating with your technology. Not that you can't use them, not that they're invalid, but the formula, in a sense, is the ultimate organic app for what you seek.
Hi, Bashar. It's really exciting to communicate with you in this way.
Good day, good day. It is exciting for us as well.
So my first question is about astral activities and what people are doing together in preparation for contact on the higher levels. I had a really, really lucid dream where I was going into some sort of courtyard, and I was with lots of people from all walks of life, such as doctors, some politicians, some religious people, farmers even, literally every walk of life. And I remember sort of standing next to somebody and asking and saying to them, wow, with these sorts of people here, we're really going to make some progress moving forward towards contact. I was just wondering if you could share your reflection on that experience and kind of where we are at the moment.
All right. Understand, of course, as we have said, in spirit, before you incarnate, you plan out, generally speaking, and sometimes very specifically, your physical life path. But your physical life path is intertwined with all other life paths. So in astral form, many times you will reconnect with all of the others who you have agreed to intertwine with in their life paths with yours, and you will assess what is going on. You will allow yourself to congregate in a way so that you can allow yourselves to adjust your energies and frequencies to make sure that the life path blueprints you have all agreed shall unfold in physical reality, are still moving forward in that way. Agree to make whatever adjustments energetically or physiologically are necessary in your blueprint for the things to unfold as you have all concurred and agreed that they shall. So many times in astral form, you will have these so-called conclaves to make sure you are all still moving forward together, that everything is coherent and cohesive, and it will unfold in physical reality and manifest in physical reality as you all intended. That is what is going on in that case.
Thank you so much for that clarification.
Yes.
My next question is about step 2 of the social experiment. One of the aspects talked about is meditation. So I've been sort of really enjoying getting into sort of doing about an hour or 45 minutes a day of meditation, sometimes more. And what I've started to discover is an energy that comes down through either my crown or the pituitary gland, and it's almost like a quasi-physical energy, it feels like, and it kind of filters down into my head and makes me feel very deeply relaxed, and also seems to emphasize my psychic abilities and things I can pick up and visions and that kind of thing.
Yes.
When with this sort of experience, sometimes I can get, it almost feels like a hole is opening up in the center of my head, and my consciousness is kind of getting pulled sometimes towards other consciousness. Could you just help me understand what's happening?
All right. Again, remember, your physical self exists at the center of your soul. It's like you are an energy sphere, that is your soul, and you have certain vibrational patterns that condense in the center of the soul to create this little crystalline solidified version of those energy patterns that you represent as the physical personality. So when you do things that allow you to be back in touch with the vibration of your greater self, your higher mind, your soul, spirit, same thing, you feel it as an energy coming down into you because that's how you relate to the idea of physical reality, as above, so below. But what's really happening is you are expanding and softening the idea of that concentration of yourself as a physical personality, and starting to soften and expand back toward the idea of the soul. And so it does feel like the opening of a hole, because you are expanding, you're opening up, you're allowing more of your soul to express itself through the physical personality, through the physical form. That's what you're experiencing, is the expansion of your bandwidth, the expansion of your energy, expressing more of who you are as a soul, so that you can use and apply it in your physical reality in more effective and synchronistic ways.
So when we move forward and our vibration increases, and let's say hypothetically we're at a time in the future where we're having the beginnings of contact, will that sort of state of being and those sorts of feelings be much more sort of stable and in place during each of our days, kind of thing? Something we'd be used to?
Yes, you'll get used to it.
Right, okay. Well, thank you so much for clarifying everything today.
It is our passion and our pleasure. We thank you for the co-creation. Aveo. Good day.
Too.
Hello, Bashar. I've got a quick question. I do have a real reality in my physical life, and I do have a parallel reality in my mind, which also exists from time to time with another person, let's say. So my question is, how can I change my realities, my delusional reality? How can I bring it, and can I bring it into my real reality to substitute one into another one? Is that possible? Thank you.
You may be picking up on the idea of something on your life path that will manifest at some point in the future. But again, the idea is you will not manifest anything from a parallel reality that isn't relevant for the life path that you chose. It might be symbolic of your ability to be more of yourself, as opposed to actually attracting a manifestation of a parallel reality. It might be simply something you're using to inspire you to do so. But again, if it is part of your life path that you planned out as a soul, then ultimately you may be using the idea of tapping into a parallel reality to strengthen and reinforce your capability to manifest what you have already planned out as a blueprint for your life path here, to become your version of what that person in that parallel reality represents to you energetically.
How can I then change myself to change the perception I'm having of the people around me, and specifically the ones I'm having quote-unquote negative experiences with?
All right. First of all, you start by not labeling anything in your reality as negative, because if you do, all you're doing is agreeing with them and perpetuating that idea for yourself, are you not?
Yes.
Well, then if someone does something that you perceive as happening in your reality or is directed at you, knowing what we just said in that you are creating your version of them, you must be somewhere within your own consciousness in agreement with that idea in order to perceive it that way. Now, we understand you have the ability to observe in a neutral sense, in an objective sense, so to speak, that someone can be being negative even if you're not. But the point is you don't take it to heart if you know it has nothing to do with you. The only reason you would feel affected by it is if you agree that it does. You see?
Okay, well, I want to take it
one moment, not done yet.
Okay.
Want to illustrate a little point, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. What is your favorite color?
Blue.
All right. Now, if you were wearing something blue and someone came up to you and said, I hate red, and I hate what you're wearing, you go, what? That makes no sense. Oh, it must have nothing to do with me. Oh, you must be crazy. You must be talking about someone else. You wouldn't be affected by it because it wouldn't make sense to you. You understand?
Yes.
You would have no real emotional reaction to it. The idea, therefore, is that when you feel the emotional reaction of someone's supposed attack, what you're doing is getting them, your version of them, to reflect to you that some portion of yourself feels that way about yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't react. You would just observe it. Oh, interesting. And move on with your day. But if you react to it, it's showing you, hey, some part of you actually is buying into this as true. So what do you want to do about it? So you say, well, thank you. Thank you for showing that I was not loving all of myself. And when you really start doing that, then you may start to see that someone else's attitude toward you may change, because what you've done is you've changed your version of them in your reality to be more reflective of the fact that you're now loving yourself more wholly. Make sense? The real being may still be going off and insulting everybody, but the only version of them you'll get is the version you've created that is now reflective of the love you're willing to give to yourself, that you weren't willing to give to yourself before. Is this starting to make sense? Do you see what kind of a shadow play this is?
Yes, it's very subtle, especially if you're in the room with somebody.
Yes.
And you're not...
Especially if you imagine you're in the room with somebody. Remember, it's not real. It's not real. It's your reality experience. It's not empirically real. It's just a symbol of the reality you are creating yourself to be, of your experience of yourself. So just because it looks like someone else is in the room with you, they're not. They're in their own room, maybe with their version of you. So the question is, what do you prefer to be going on in your room? Because you're the only one in it. Regardless of what it looks like, you're the only one in it. Are you familiar with what you call a fictional drama on your planet called Star Trek?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the device that they call the holodeck?
Yes.
Are you understanding that all of the other people are just holograms?
I understand that intellectually.
I just love that line. It is, no offense, no judgment, it's the ultimate cop-out. I understand it intellectually is actually another way of saying I'm not sure I want to get too close to really knowing what you're saying here. It's pushing the idea away. Because you actually do know exactly what I'm saying. Deep in your heart, deep in your soul. It's just that you've been taught to be afraid to look at it too closely.
Afraid to look at the concept or the actual experience of holograms?
Because you see, this is what you're dealing with. This is what most of you deal with when you're in this kind of situation. You're afraid to look too closely at dealing with this because what you've been taught to fear is that what you think these other people are saying about you might actually be true. And oh no, how horrible would that be? You follow me? If you look too deeply, you're afraid it might actually be true. And then where will you be? But I'm telling you, it never will be true. Only what you decide is true for you is true. Is this making some sense?
Yes.
Intellectually?
I appreciate the reminder.
Oh, all right. Now, where do you want to go with this from here?
I want to go from here because in preparation for coming to this event, I had communicated to you telepathically and asked you to help me discover my blocks from living my fullest potential.
And what am I doing?
Well, no, last night you came to me in my dreams.
Yes.
And I wanted to know what we were doing.
This?
We were doing this.
More of this?
More of this work.
Yes.
Okay, so can you specifically illuminate for me my soul's agreement and purpose in life?
Obviously, this is one of the things you have decided to learn, your self-worth, in the face of opposing opinions. Are you going to believe in the truth that is you, or are you going to believe in someone else's truth that has nothing to do with you? Which do you prefer?
I believe in my truth.
All right. Then you can continue to choose to do so. And anytime you find yourself feeling fearful about what someone else is saying about you or reacting to someone else's communication at you, understand that's another opportunity to feel your self-worth and believe in yourself, and understand that many times when someone comes up to you and says something that seems like an attack on you, what they're actually telling you is they have the same fear. And they're just projecting it on you to give you an opportunity to decide whether it's true for you. And what you can then do is be big enough to hold a space to allow them to find out whether it really needs to continue to be true for them, by loving them back for showing you an opportunity to love yourself more. You see?
Yes, thank you very much.
Is this helping?
Oh, absolutely. Thank
All right.
you. Thank you.
We'll talk some more.
Thank you. See you in my dreams.
Yes, that's what I meant.